And welcome back to Topic A. I am your host, Ann Gownley, and it is Autism Awareness Month. And I want to start off this month with Dr. Sandra Kirshner. Sandra, there's a lot of statistics that have been out there over the years as studies have concluded and studies are continuing to grow. Recently, a new statistic, 1 in every 68 births.
Right.
A child is diagnosed with autism. The statistics that are out there, we're talking males versus females.
Autism is 5 times more likely to be diagnosed in a male than a female.
And is that surprising in your field? Do you see that a lot more, or any other statistics that we need to let everyone know?
I mean, you definitely see, just in my own practice, in the job that I've been doing, you do see there has been an increase. You definitely see that just in the community, in the schools, an increasing number of referrals coming in, an increasing number of children in the community. So it is nice that the help is there for these families, because they don't always know what to do. That's
what I wanted to ask you. Do you see a growth in the amount of children that you're seeing? Because you work with children,
right?
Obviously, right. From a young age up to 21 years old. Mm-hmm. So you do see, have you seen clients of yours, grow the amount of clients?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. From the time that I personally have been working in Hazleton, I've had almost tripled my caseload. So in 9 years, I went from 8 clients to 24.
And the studies that you have researched yourself and looked up, is there any a larger number that we see out there, any big statistic that many should know about concerning diagnosis? Does it seem like a lot of more younger children are being diagnosed?
I think younger children, and I also think children that we've gotten a lot better at teasing apart comorbidity of other diagnoses. So things like ADHD,
right,
things like oppositional defiant disorder, or sensory disorders, those kinds of things. So, that may be partially what's driving the increase in the statistic, is that the fine-tuning of the diagnostic criteria has gotten a now better.
And it's
to
easier
look at.
To point out a child
right.
that has autism and where they sit on the spectrum.
Exactly.
Now, as we're talking statistics, you said your caseload has grown over the years that you've been working. Obviously, this is something that the media has grabbed onto too, yes, to also bring awareness. And there's currently a show on television now that there's a child that has
right.
Asperger's syndrome, and you've
right.
watched the parents find out themselves and live through that. And we were talking about that before.
Right.
What are your thoughts on seeing, the film industry break into something like autism, and you work with a lot of children that have autism that also have Asperger's.
Right.
Is that something that you embrace as well?
Absolutely. I'm excited. We've come a long way since Rain Man.
Right.
That was everyone's, for the longest time, that was how people viewed autism. But there are so many shows, and I personally, I love to see it. I collect, I
right.
collect shows that portray autism in some way. And I've had, I do think it has really increased awareness for a lot of people, not just about maybe seeing something in their own child that they're going through on the television show might prompt them to say, I wonder if there's an issue here. But also when there are people who aren't familiar with autism,
right.
and I say to them, well, this child has autism, and they say, oh, you mean like this character on this show? Well, yes or no, or sort of.
Right.
So it opens up that, it gives them a frame of reference, because that's one thing that's very hard about autism is it's a world, a fascinating, wonderful world, but a world unlike, it's hard to understand sometimes, and you really have to try and wrap your brain around it. So having that frame of reference, I think, is helpful for them.
And you're able to see the interaction with their siblings, and that's something
right.
else we want to talk about. Those that have children with autism, they may have other children
right.
in the family that don't have autism, and it's hard for them to understand the amount of attention that a child with autism needs. Can we talk about that a little bit? it, and what parents out there need to know, and how to deal with your other child while you're dealing with the one with autism.
It's really hard. We always say that being a parent is a full-time job. Being a parent of a child on the spectrum is 2 full-time jobs, and sometimes more. So when you have a child that you also need to take care of and provide for their emotional well-being while you're wrapped up in the child with autism can be very difficult. My biggest suggestion to people is to reach out for support, and if that means, looking for people in the community, people maybe in your church or in your family who you can help train to spend some time with your child with autism so that you can give some of that attention to the siblings, I think is really great. Another huge thing is just to talk about it.
Right.
I've met children who don't know why their siblings are doing what they're doing. No one, and it's not that it's being hidden from them. It wasn't that anyone was embarrassed or that it's being hidden. It's just no one thinks to explain it, to sit down and explain to a 6 or 7-year-old or a 13-year-old or what autism is and why their sibling is doing the things that they're doing.
Do you have any suggestions for parents that are sitting at home saying, well, they're acting out, my child's acting out because of their brother or sister that has autism? Is there something they can do with that child and, maybe make a day just for them and give them attention as well?
Absolutely. I think just having time set aside that's specifically for that child attention. Also, there are a lot of organizations in the community. The biggest one I know about is in Wilkes-Barre, but it's open to anyone. Live with Autism holds free activities in the community that are for children with autism, and their siblings can come too. And so it gives the siblings that feeling that they're not being segregated or not being isolated because they're not the one with autism.
And they're not the only sibling out there. They also can make friends that are like, they could talk about their brothers and sisters.
So it's like a support group for the kids, because there are a lot of support groups for the parents. It provides that support for the children.
And there are a lot of services as well, and there's upcoming events like a seminar series to talk about autism, and for those that aren't aware of what autism is, they can learn about it there, and those that have children as well.
Right. Next Wednesday, the 9th at 4 o'clock, they start. I'll be speaking first. The topic I'll be covering is specifically for children that have moderate to severe disabilities, and it's really focusing on what are the essential skills that an individual needs to have to be healthy and happy, regardless of everything else.
Right.
What are the essential skills that they need to have in terms of language, in terms of daily living skills, those kinds of things, and how do we begin to teach those to them? Right. And then following my presentation will be Steve Jacks. Will be talking about another BSc with the agency. He is a BCBA, and he will be talking about just the general, what is BHRS, Behavioral Health Rehabilitation Services. So what is it, what can it do for you, how do you access it, and then what is applied behavioral analysis, what is ABA, what can it do for you, how do you use that, what are the methods.
All right, well, when we come back here on Topic A, we'll give you the details and the website and the phone numbers that you need, that you may or may not need here to get their services if you're unaware if your child has autism or any other behavioral issues that they're dealing with. So we'll give you all that details coming up here on Topic A, only on WYLN. Welcome back to Topic A. It is Autism Awareness Month, and I'm your host, Ann Gownley. Dr. Sandra Kirshner. Let's talk about what is it that you want parents to understand, because there's a lot that they take in when they first get the diagnosis for their child. What is it that you can tell them, with your job and being able to meet with parents over the years and meeting with their children? What is it that you can say to them to maybe even comfort them when they get these the diagnosis?
I mean, the biggest thing is just reach out. Reach out for help. A lot of parents feel isolated because, it can be very hard to, especially if your child has a lot of behaviors, if they're struggling a lot with sensory things, just to go out into the community. Parents get embarrassed because their kid's throwing a tantrum or whatever. Don't. Just reach out. The help is there. There's no reason to be isolated. And that's really it. Just, the saddest thing that I see is a family that just feels like they're prisoners in their own home because of their child's disability, and it doesn't need to be that way.
Right, and there also are support groups.
Exactly.
That are provided to them with Children's Service Center, and I want to talk about that again, and just the amount of support that they have, and there is a website that people can go to and a phone number as well to reach out for those services. And when can people call, and how can they get a hold?
You can call, I don't know if there's the number. You can call, I believe the phones are manned from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. And you can also, if you are in Wilkes-Barre, we do triage just on a walk-in basis as well. So you can walk into the counter and ask to have an intake and get the ball rolling that way as well.
Okay, so there's a lot of information, of course, listed on the website as well, and a lot of information on autism itself that's out there. So just any research that you can do before you even speak to a consultant and go out there. But thank you so much for the amount of information that you've provided in just a half-hour show. But it is Autism Awareness Month, but it's always awareness.
It's always, yeah.
Always awareness for this. So once again, I appreciate it. And there's plenty of events that you can check out, and there's seminars and different support groups that we were talking about, not only for the parents, but for the siblings as well, to understand their brothers or sisters. So once again, thank you so much. So make sure you stop by that website or give them a call if you have any questions at Children's Service Center in Wilkes-Barre, at the main office in Wilkes-Barre. So make sure you stop by. Once again, thank you so much.
You're welcome.